opinion. Leicester fans were full of it ahead of Friday night's match. Yet another manager out of the door, and the new one picking up 4 wins in a row after an opening defeat to Watford. In the time Rafa Benitez has been at St James Park, the Foxes have had 4 different managers and 2 caretaker bosses. The Leicester fans talking about 7th and potential European football in their grasp, as well as a possible golden boot for Jamie Vardy. The Leicester fans pretty unanimous in thinking it would be a Leicester win, with most expecting by at least a couple of goals, and Jamie Vardy adding to his 7 in the last 6 games, 15 so far for the season. A lot of negative comments regarding Rafa Benitez and lazy parking the bus comments, very short memories, as well as Leicester fans finding it difficult to recall that their title win was based overwhelmingly on counter-attacking football. Some of the home fans, though not all, also clearly forgetting how Newcastle were by far the better team when winning here 2-1 last April. After losing 1-0, thoughts of golden boots, European football and a glorious new future under Brendan Rodgers have disappeared. As for comments on Newcastle United's part in last night's game, result, some predictably bitter comments about Rafa Benitez. However, also some of their more clued-up honest supporters happy to praise both Rafa and the Newcastle players. An entertaining read, especially when you have won. Leicester fans comment via their Top Foxes Talk message board, pre-match, 2-0. Routine win, Maguire and Evans back in. 5 straight wins, let's be honest, they are seriously average and we should win. They'll come to frustrate, but the movement of Maddison, Tielemans and Barnes will be too much for them for 90 minutes. Vardy could reach 20 Peter goals again this season, which is outrageous given he was on 7 in February. 3-0 Vardy hat-trick win. Hopefully Vardy can nick a couple and give himself a shot at the golden boot. Rafa is going to be thinking it could have been him. If Toon just sit in like boring bards, then just tell Yorian Matters to bombard the goal at every opportunity. 3-1 side up, 2-0 win, but not without difficulties. Rafa won't down tools for us, and something tells me he'll want to do one over on Rodgers. Their fans aren't optimistic about this one and most expect a defeat. I think we'll win this 3-1. Hopefully Barnes will get his first goal. Could easily be 4-0 with the form we are in. On the TV, we never seem to play well in front of the nation, world. Still, I remember us losing 7-1 to these live on TV, so I'd like that to be put right. To be fair, if Newcastle do the small-time thing and sit 11 men behind the ball to play for the draw, we'll be fine. Rodgers has had 3 years of having to deal with that sort of park football up in the Bucky Triangle. He's used to it. Post-match, the manager we could have had. Sit back and take it in. Sometimes you've just got to doff your cap to the opposition and give them credit for the perfect away performance. We were doggo, but fair play to Rafa and the Geordies. They did a job on us tonight. The only positive was that the Geordie keeper managed to use his free time during the game to knit a rather snazzy cardigan. And it only took 1 hour 25 minutes. Not his biggest fan, but that was a Rafa masterclass. Fair play to Newcastle, they deserved that. Newcastle did what they do, suffocate the game. Terrible to watch, but if they score first, it becomes very hard to get a result. Our lot turned up expecting to be able to play their game, own the pitch, and when it wasn't going right, there was nobody there that could drag us through. They turned up, worked hard, battled well, and sneaked a goal. Fair play, tactics. Rafa 1, Brendan 0. There was nothing perfect about their performance. We failed to take advantage of our superiority, then started giving the ball away and not marking, went 1 down and were incapable of scoring. Do you think that Wolves or Watford would have lost at home to that lot? TBF, both Wolves and Watford needed last-minute goals to get 1-1 draws against them in pretty much identical games. And the Wolves goal shouldn't have stood, and Watford lost to them away. Newcastle are pretty good at defending against teams like us. Also taken 4 points off Everton this season. Not sure it's a coincidence that fans of all those teams probably said similar things to your comments after Newcastle had done the same job on them, too. Mind you, I couldn't be more glad that we didn't go for Rafa. I honestly felt that once the Geordies had scored there was no chance of City scoring. Hands up all those who remember their goalie having a serious shot to save. Can we stop with this? Newcastle gave the perfect away performance. They were shush. Trouble was we were even cheaper. Very clear what tonight happened. Benitez won Rodgers' zero tactical masterclass from Rafa. Newcastle did the same last year. Come here, park the bus. Boring but effective. Erg, do you think we would play that way if Benitez had been in post for 3 years with a spend of 180 meters or whatever it is? Well, that was dire. Outthought, outfought and outplayed at home to a bottom third team. Honeymoon over Brendan, cost us £9 million to get this clown from Celtic. People have said that they want BR to try and get us in the top 6 and win a cup, etc, etc. First aim for him next season is to not lose at home. The absolute shish piss me off losing at home to the likes of Bees and Palace. And yes, I know Newcastle deserved it and it was a Rafa masterclass, blah blah blah. It's still utter shish. And we need to be able to beat teams like these at the KP. Far too easy for Newcastle and their Benitez bus. Rodgers has to develop a plan B and plan C in those situations. In truth, we were lucky to escape with just a 0-1. Whoa, it's like a different forum on here tonight compared to recently. What the hell? Newcastle were solid and turned in a typical scrappy, time-wasting game, but they were very hard to pick apart, very hard to get the second ball off of and very hard to find space against. They nullified our Maddison. The goal came from a simple situation. Ball came back on the wing and Diaz Perez more alive in the box than West and a good header over a seemingly 5 feet 2 inches Casper. Their touch was right, their pressure was right and they deserved the win. That's them on a good night. I just got the feeling, watching the match, that our players were in their comfort zone, thinking all they had to do was turn up to win and that Newcastle wanted it more. Some of the players looked well short of where they have been the last few games, like they had proven themselves to the new boss and could now relax, and we never really got going. Chilwell, how the hell does he play for England and it's touted by Man City and Barcelona? I would personally drive him to those locations and drop him off for free. He is without doubt the most frustrating and thick footballer I have ever seen. Newcastle were always going to turn up and play like that. Rafa got it spot and tactically, and for those saying it was dreadful to watch, they did a load more than we did going forward. Putting them down for being defensively resolute and organized just sounds bitter, so don't bother. It was up to us to break them down and we failed miserably. As for getting the wrong man, those that prefer the great tactician that is Rafa the Gaffer, would you seriously like to watch that week in week out and know it was nothing like what we did in our title win? This is Rafa's only tactic which he's been using for years with Newcastle. I'll ignore the sarcasm and say again, Newcastle did not let us play last night. They were clearly well up for it, chased everything down. Rondon was a beast and they gave us no time. We were poor, but that was in large part to the fact that Newcastle played exactly to their strengths. This is why the Geordie fans love Rafa. They know, despite the limitations of his squad, he generally sees them safe every season. It would be interesting even now to see how he did again at a club where he had proper dosh to spend. Newcastle closed down the passing angles into Maddison and Tielemans very well, especially first half, and meant we couldn't build up any head of steam going forwards. Chilwell was the only outlet and he kept running up blind alleys time and again. He and Barnes need to work on building up an understanding as they played like strangers. Second half we worked the ball into more dangerous areas and managed to free up Tielemans and Maddison a bit more, but execution of the final ball simply wasn't there, or the interplay wasn't anywhere near as crisp or precise as it needed to be. Deserved win for Newcastle. Hopefully that will finally end the people on here clamoring for Benitez and Rondon. Newcastle won because we were dreadful. No, tactical masterclass, as some have said on here lol. playing 5 at the back with 2 holding midfielders must be pretty horrendous viewing every weekend for the Newcastle fans. We were properly shushed tonight and they still couldn't string 2 passes together.